That ditch drained into Poole Harbour, and Poole Harbour is the second largest natural harbour in the world, and it is fantastic for birds. At this point, we think there are 25,000 birds of 134 different species out there. It's designated as a Site of Special Scientific Interest, an SPA, a Ramsar site, a European Marine Site. It's got all sorts of conservation designations on account of the fact that it attracts all of these birds here in winter to feed on this rich invertebrate-filled mud. It's incredibly important. Some of those birds are in internationally important numbers and certainly nationally important numbers. But guess what? It's in trouble. And it's in trouble down to algae. Yep, normally ulva or cladophora algae. And if you look at it down, if you're looking down on the harbour here, you can see those algal growths. Now, there's nothing wrong with algae. Algae likes to grow when it's got CO2, when it's got sunlight, and when it's got minerals. But when the balance goes wrong and you get too many minerals in the water, then you get too much algae. You get these algal blooms that completely coat the surface of the mud. In fact, when they really get going, you can get 1 kilogram of algae over 1 square metre. So you can imagine how much that is. And that presents those birds with a real problem.
It's incredible to see it from above, isn't it? I mean, you can see that it's really choking up the waterways.
Yeah.
But we have got a diagram over here to show what the problem is if there is an algal layer. So this is what the birds come for. They come for the mud, and in the mud you've got all of this food, lots of invertebrates. So you've got loads of different waders with lots of different beak shapes, and that means that they can get down to different layers. So I've got a dunlin here, and the dunlin has a very short beak, and so it doesn't have to go down very far to get its food, so it goes to the top layer. What have you got, Chris?
I got the curlew, and the curlew's got a beak which can go down 15 centimetres. So as you can see, it's capable of probing down and getting these large invertebrates, which are quite deep down in the mud. No escape from the beak of the curlew, though.
But then, if you get, and this is going to be the algae, and if you get an algal bloom that goes, let's put it around there, on the top, then you get our little dunlin with its short beak. What happens there? Well, it can't get down. It can't get down to its food because it's only got a short beak. It can't get through the algal layer. What about you?
Negative impact for the dunlin. The curlew, however, with its 15-centimetre bill, can still manage to push that down through that algal growth, and it can still reach the invertebrates here. So that is definitely, not handicapping the curlew at that point. But then there is another issue, and that is that the algal growth on the top here actually diminishes the diversity and the density of these invertebrates in the mud, and that can be obviously a very serious problem. Scientists at Bournemouth University have been looking at the harbour, and they've been monitoring the birds. So this is some of their footage, and they use video like this to see which birds were foraging in which places, when, for how long, and of course what they were catching. Other scientists looked and found that actually algal blooms are OK for a couple of species. Brent geese seem to like them. They nibble at the algae. Turnstones seem to like them. But what the Bournemouth scientists found was that they were a real handicap for species such as godwits, because they rely on those large invertebrates down in the mud. And those numbers decreased, the godwits couldn't feed where the algae was. They had to move, and that cost them energy. They're moving from one part of the harbour when previously they didn't need to. And as Michaela's already mentioned, some of the smaller birds can't reach that food at all. So what's going on here? Where's all of this algae come from? Well, I mentioned about excessive minerals upsetting the balance. It's coming from two principal sources. About 13% of the nitrates which are draining into the harbour are coming from wastewater treatment plants. And there are 21 of those around Poole Harbour. Now, let's be clear, they're doing everything they can to extract those nitrates from that water. And the stream where I was putting as clean water as possible back into it. But nevertheless, still 13% to get in there through various spillages and so forth. The 80% that's going in there is from farm runoff. It's coming straight off the fields. Today, when it was pouring with rain, those nitrates would have been flooding down into Poole Harbour. And this is something that's happening all over the UK, and it's a very serious issue. But thankfully, some farmers here are doing what they can to address it.
Well, something does have to be done because, as Chris said, this is so important for birds. It's internationally important, it's critically important. So what are they doing? Well, here in Poole Harbour, there's a nutrient management scheme working with farmers, and some areas around tributaries are being rewilded to prevent further pollution. But, you know, algal, it is a real problem in so many places. And it's so important for these birds to not have that there. It's going to clog up the waterways. So do you think it's going to work?
Well,
do you think this management is going to work,
when it comes to
Chris?
environment, nothing is, you know, at the forefront more at the moment than water quality, down to the issues over sewage. And I think that's great. We don't want sewage in our waters, and obviously many people are working really hard to make sure that we address that issue. However, we mustn't forget that farm runoff is a very, very significant issue. So it's great to see those farmers taking up that initiative, but we do need to see that spread out countrywide. There's no doubt about it.